Your month's been well. I really wish that more content could be coming out, but I should be getting an answer on sort of availability and stuff in the next week. Got 3 business meetings with the ventures that I'm in at the moment, which is obviously my day job. For those that know me from Talking Hawks, we're going to try and figure out the next step there. And of course, for those that don't know, I'm also working with RPP FM here on the peninsula in Melbourne, in Victoria. And fingers crossed things can progress from there, because as you guys know, I'm a footy nuffy, and given the work that I do in terms of article writing, live streaming, and of course YouTube, if that can help me out as well, of course, making a career out of this, because the content creation is something that I really fucking love doing. And as much as the day job pays the bills and I do really enjoy it, I honestly do, the love and the passion is on a tier below than what footy and sport itself, of course, with cricket, NBA and NFL. If you haven't checked out the NBA and NFL podcast, Teddies and Threes with Smithy, who's been on the channel before, and TD, the man affectionately known as Bubbles, because he's got the memory span of a goldfish. And if you could follow us there on TikTok, that would be cool. But yeah, it's been a crazy month. Had the flu, had COVID. It's been a shit fright. So we're here, back again. Power rankings. I'm not really happy with how the last one went, but as you guys can probably tell, better thumbnail, better production, I hope. And moving onwards and upwards. I know Cal Toomey dropped his Phantom draft today, so I'm going to try and sort of talk about some teams in the draft, some early predictions, not about where players are going to end up, but more about what teams should do. I think that's a more important conversation than, is Elijah Hewitt going to end up at West Coast, or, just as an example, or does Matthias Philippou go higher or lower than 9, which I think is where Cal had him at. So that should all be coming if these meetings go the way that I think they are. But for those that haven't watched a Power Rankings video before, I apologise for sort of rambling at the start, but I'm going to sort them into, now that we're getting further into the year, of course, I'm going to sort them into the contender. Now, this is going to be the number 1 team in the competition, and that's it. Win a final, self-explanatory. Teams that I think can win a final, or more than one final, of course. Pretender, these are teams that I think are finals calibre but can't win one. Not there yet. These are the teams, I don't expect to make finals that are either on an upward or a downward trajectory. And then, of course, dog shit should be self-explanatory. So, let's get into it. Let's start with the Crows. I've really enjoyed the Crows' effort. I really do. I know it seems harsh with them telling Matt Crouch that his services are no longer required when he's 14 months out from his contract expiring. And I know that they've put his trade value at a 4th-round pick, pretty much, but I respect it. They know their midfield's one-dimensional. I mean, hell, I told them that back in February, but they would have known long before. I kind of want to put them in not there yet, because I kind of admire what they're trying to do. Sam Berry's, been really improved in the back end of the year. Riley Thilthorpe in the ruck looks really good. I don't know where that puts Riley O'Brien. Is he a trade piece? Who knows? I genuinely think that we're only going to have 2 teams in the dog shit category. I kind of want to put the Crows as not there yet. Now, they're not going to be the best of the not yet teams, but we'll see. I feel comfortable there. Brisbane, they can win a final. I hope it's not at the Gabba, because the Bulldogs semi-final, and who was the other final? Prelim. Was it Geelong? Did they lose to Geelong in 2020? I don't remember that prelim final at all. Could be. Anyway, they lost 2 home finals in the last 2 years. But I think they can win a final. They are way too tall in their forward line. I know apparently Collingwood are offering Dan McStay $650 a year, and yet out of Hipwood and Danaher, I would drop McStay and let Cam Rayner and Zach Bailey be forwards and allow Lockie Neal, Jared Lyons, Hugh McCluggage be that midfield group that come together. You look at Melbourne, I know they're struggling a bit at the moment, but they still kicked 6 goals won from clearances last week, and Oliver, Petrarca and Viney together are sharing in 78% of centre bounces. So that part of the game is working. Brisbane, stop trying to make your half forwards be midfielders. I know Sydney, Tom Papley, could they do it with Charlie Cameron? Potentially, maybe. But Zach Bailey and Cam Rayner need to stop having so many centre bounce attendances. Have your nucleus, have your core, and attack from there. Stop trying to be the smartest people in the room. The Blues. The Blues can win a final. Absolutely, the Blues can win a final. It is kind of dependent on the matchup. If they finish 6th and they have to play maybe a Sydney in a final, that would be a cracking game. And I honestly would put it at 50-50. It might actually depend on whose ground it is. Sydney are playing the SCG a whole lot better. But if Carlton are 5th and Richmond somehow make the finals, oh my God, that would be amazing to watch. Now, my beautiful partner is Richmond, and my best mate, Hank, is Carlton. So, plenty on the line. Let me tell you, it's extraordinary what's happened there, but that would be fantastic to watch. I would back Carlton to beat Richmond currently in a final, as of right now, only because I know Robbie Tarrant's improved, but I don't think they can stop Charlie and Harry. And I would probably back the Blues against the Dogs as well, for pretty much the same reason. I would back Richmond to get closer, or potentially cause an upset against the Blues, but I think they can win a final. Collingwood, they can win a final. 100%. Finishing 4th for the Pies, I think would kind of suck. I know they took Geelong a long way, but even when they got out to 6 goals in front, and I watched that game back, the Cats did look like the better side that just gave up momentum, which is, of course, derelict to do in a final. But if Collingwood in week 2 had to play Carlton, that would be a cracking game. But I would probably... I think Collingwood can win a final. I'm not going to overthink this. The Bombers, they're not there yet, but I'll put them ahead of Adelaide. I would hate to be an Essendon fan, and I'm not saying that as a Hawthorn fan going, ha 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 ha, look at the Bombers. I'm not saying that at all, but when the gonads have got to be put on the line, they go to water, take the pressure off, and they play like millionaires. I do feel for Harry Jones. The defensive effort was fantastic, and he did kick the point, but I look at senior leadership. As he's walking in, there are 4 players around him, Dylan Shields, Zach Merritt, Andy McGrath, and Jai Caldwell, that just weren't setting up for the point. I mean, we've seen teams defend kick-ins before. Like, for crying out loud, they should have done that. Ben Rutten is kind of the epitome of the Bombers at the moment. Under pressure, we're all questioning whether he can coach, and then they start coasting at the back end of the year, and we're all saying he can't afford to leave. So... I mean, the Bombers, they're not dog shit. They've got talent on the list. But, yeah, they're nowhere near being a finals caliber team until they figure it out between the ears. Freo. Yeah, I think Freo can win a final. I know they've been good on the road. The St Kilda win especially. But I don't know whether they can travel and win a final. I've actually got more faith in Freo without Fife at this point, because I know you're putting a 2-time Brownlow medalist into a team, which should make you better. But I think Brayshaw, Sarong especially, they go through identity crises when Fife's back in the team. Like, they've got to take a step back. No, this is their team, and Fife should be the winning piece. There is a part of me that says Freo just play him out of the goal square, but they'll figure it out. I do like the team more with either Fife in the square or not in the team, which I know sounds outrageous, but Andy Brayshaw was probably leading the Brownlow when Fife wasn't in the side. Fife's come back in, and I'll make a video about my Brownlow algorithm once round 23 finishes, but I've currently got him 4th. 4th. He was leading it, I think, after round 14. So, Freo, I've got more faith in them in a home final. Geelong, I hate it as a Hawthorn fan, but they're playing the best footy in the competition. Them and Collingwood have got 9-win streaks. Geelong have done it convincingly, so well done to them. They've done them in all grounds. They've got some youth finally. Brandon Parfitt, I know, is not in the team, but I think goes underrated. I kind of hate that the AFL media clearly haven't watched Tom Atkins for the last 12 months because he's been good no matter where he's played. We know Jack Henry, he's becoming a bit of a forward 50 arc player, isn't he? He's not as noticeable down in defence, but we'll see. But the Cats, they're flying. Hawkins, Cameron, Jeremy Cameron, and I'll die on this hill, is the best half-forward flanker I've ever seen. He's not a centre half-forward for me. He's just not. But what he does in that role in the team, is extraordinarily well, and I think he's in the top 5 best players in the competition right now because of his role, his versatility, the way he uses the footy and his ability to hit goals. So I'm not taking that away from him at all. But the Cats, they're flying, and they welcome back Tom Stewart. Jeepers. The Suns, I'm going to put the Suns in the pretender with a question mark because they should be playing finals and maybe winning a final next year. You know, they're having this good of a year without Ben King, which is kind of not being talked about in a weird way. But they've been fantastic. I'm so happy for Stewie Drew. I think Touk Miller on Brownlow night is going to be right up there. I think he's going to surprise a few. And considering how good the Suns run home is, he's currently $12 in the betting market. Gamble responsibly, but if you put one house on it and you win 12, the real estate market is yours. So I like the Suns. Their defense, Collins and Ballard have been fantastic. I still got a little bit of worry about where Jack Lukosius fits in, and I don't think Oleg Markov is really the answer at halfback. We know Jack Bowes has been injured, but they're going okay. They're definitely in an upward trajectory. The Suns, the Giants, if they were playing like this and Leon Cameron was still there, I'd probably have them in the dog shit pile. They're better than Adelaide. They're better than the Bombers. And I would say they're not better than the Bombers because, like being reported, there's going to be an exodus. I don't think Hopper, Taranto, Tanner Bruin, Bobby Hill are going to be there. And yeah, those guys, especially Bruin and Hill, might not be, really established best 22 players. The magnet never leaves the whiteboard, but they need to have this turnover. They've still got Leaker, their first-round pick from last year, to come in. Their depth looks shaky. If I'm the Giants, whoever is at my pick out of Aaron Cadman and Matthew Jefferson, they need to draft. They need to draft a tall forward. They just need to. And Harry Himmelberg needs to play back. And does Nick Haynes have a future? I'm not 100% sure. My Hawkers, we're not there yet. We just beat the Crow. What's going on here? Giants beat the Hawks in the wet, so we'll put the Hawks there. As a Hawthorn fan, I'm really loving where we're at. I know we've won 3 in a row and it was against Adelaide, West Coast and North, but you can see what Sam Mitchell's trying to do. He wants to kick 100 points in a game. He does. That's the whole game plan. Is it a bit Malcolm Blight in the 90s? Yes, but it's fun to watch. The Hawks are a top 5 team for converting scores from inside 50s. I think they're 5th at the moment because it was pretty inefficient against North last week, which was interesting, but Man McKay was fantastic on Mitch Lewis. We're a really accurate team. Mitch Lewis looks a star. Dylan Moore is going up and up and up. Jai Newcomb had 30 touches and kicked 2, by the way. And if he keeps playing like that, my missus is going to steal him. So, Jai, if you could just maybe 5% less, my friend, we would be doing well. He's a ripping fella, Jai. I've interviewed him on Talking Hawks and, loved him, as everyone should. And then, of course, down back, James Sicily should be in the All-Australian team. Jack Scrimshaw and Blake Hardwick, 2 of the more underrated players in the competition. This list is looking fantastic. Is Jimmy Warple going to be at the Hawks next year? Who knows? But currently, with the midfield mix that the Hawks are trying to build, do they need him? Interesting. But the Hawks are on an upward trajectory. The Demons, they're on a downward trajectory, but it's interesting, isn't it? They're on a downward trajectory, sitting second on the ladder. Now, I know they were 10-0, and I think they've gone 3-5 since, or 3-6, 4-5, something like that. Not a winning percentage since round 10, and they're second on the ladder, and we're still disrespecting them. But I think what it does is it proves just how bloody hard these premierships are to win. So when you look at Richmond, 19-20, Hawthorn 13-14-15, of course, Geelong 07-9-11, Brisbane 01, 02, 03. I think we kind of underestimate dynasties, which is extraordinary. But Melbourne, I think Tom McDonald is a big out. They need to figure out what Ben Brown's doing. I know he wasn't in the team last week, and no Jake Lever either. So, second on the ladder, I still think they're fine. They can win 2 finals. They can make the granny. At this point, Melbourne and Geelong are probably 1 and 2, but plenty there. The Saints, I honestly can't see the Saints making the finals. I kind of want to put them there. That feels right to me. Who have they got in the run home? I should probably have checked this before I started recording. This is making for good YouTube. Please don't go away, people. Feel free to comment down below the things I've already gotten wrong. I would really appreciate that. Why is it going to... Port Adelaide and Richmond are here. St Kilda's run home. Hawthorn at Marvel. Hawthorn don't play Marvel that well, even though they beat Adelaide. Geelong down there, loss. Brisbane, loss. Sydney, loss, probably. Oof. Jeepers. I think we have to put not there yet, actually. The Saints have probably the most B-grade list in the competition. I think they've got A-grade calibre talent in Jack Steele. They've got A-grade calibre talent in Max King. Dougal Howard, underrated, as we know. Callum Wilkie's had a very good season. Jack Sinclair should be in the All-Australian team, so there's good to work with, but their drop-off between their top six and their bottom six is stark. I love Naziah Wanganeen-Miller. I think he's been fantastic. Marcus Windhager did the best tagging job of 2022 last week, and no one is talking about it. He kept Tim Kelly, before he got subbed out, to 4 disposals and had 23 himself. Piss off, Marcus. That's outstanding. Machado Owens has got a bit. So it's not like the Saints are firmly entrenched in a bad place. They're just not necessarily in a great one right now. I know Paddy Ryder wants to go on, which is probably pissing off Rowan Marshall right now. But we'll see how they go. I'm just going to quickly put, because this has gone out of order, I'm going to put Richmond here. I know. Don't yell at me. They are finding every way to lose, which tells me that in the run home, they're going to find every way to win. Look, the draw, Noah Bolter, who I put way more blame on than Noah Cumberland, to be honest. 2 pieces of game awareness. One really, really wanted to kick the footy and one didn't. I'll take the guy that didn't want to kick the footy as the idiot in this situation. I don't know whether I'm holding on the false hope. Who knows? But the Tigers are going to be fine long term. What they've done that Hawthorn didn't do is stockpile draft picks and not keep chasing the next flag. They're going to let their next flag develop. They had 5 top 30 draft picks last year with Gibkiss, Judson Clark, Tyler Sonzi. They've all made their debuts this year with Tom Brown and Sam Banks, who haven't yet, but they're going okay-ish at the moment. And they're going to have 3 top 30 picks this year. I think at the moment they've got pick 8, 26, and pick 19 from North, because that's what they got in the Callum Coleman-Jones trade. The fuck were North thinking? Seriously. But that's where they're at. So they're going to top up again with young talent, really good young talent, and go from there. I think if they get... does Jed Buslinger really work for them to pair with Gibkiss moving forward? Potentially. But I still think in that they need another midfielder in that group, so maybe pick 9. Maybe they land a Matthias Philippou or someone like that. But I can still see Richmond climbing into the 8th spot. It's between the Saints, the Tigers, and the Bulldogs. I've just got the least amount of faith of the Saints in that grouping. North are shit. Dog shit. They just are. I made a video last year about should they trade the number 1 pick, which is aging quite well, but for the wrong reasons. I kind of think they should do it again. Trade the number 1 pick. Now, they're not going to get the Horn-Francis style haul, but if you can get 2 firsts and a second, or 2 firsts and 2 seconds, or 3 firsts, I think that works. Because I would, if I'm North, I know George Wardlaw's a gun because you're not going to get Ashcroft. I know he's a gun, but I would much rather them trade back and pick up a Jed Buslinger and Aaron Cadman. There's your full forward and your full back. 2 talls. Hawthorn did it in 04 with Roughhead and Franklin, and by no means am I saying they're going to be similar players. But drafting another midfielder makes no sense. And drafting Harry Sheasel, who is an excitement machine, is he really going to be the answer in a bad team? Who knows? Port, they're not there yet. No, I've got more faith in the Saints, actually. They were really good against the Cats. They really were. And I think they should be thinking about getting rid of Ken Hinkley, because if you can't win a flag after 11 years and you're actually on the decline, you're done. So, thank you for your work. Thank you for getting us to a couple of home prelims, but we've got Dixon, Gray, Boak, Motlop that need to go out of this side. They need to get a centre-half back, a tall one. They need to get some small forwards, some permanent small forwards, because Rosie is a midfielder, and I think Butters wants to be a midfielder as well. So they'll lose Carl Amon, who'll probably go to Hawthorn. So they definitely need players around the ball. Whether they go after a Hopper or they go after a James Worpel, I'm not sure. Wines has kind of taken a big step back this year, hasn't he? And do they really need another inside mid? Who knows? But they're not there yet. and it might be, if under a new coach, they'd probably want to top up in terms of young talent and then go again. But if Ken stays, they're going to be in no man's land next year, I think. So we're back to alphabetical order. The Swans, they can win a final. I'm going to stick them there. I think, actually, yeah, Xavier Ellis describes it best on his podcast. There's a headless chook about the Swans, which I love. I love that that meaning, I think. And look, we've got 7 teams right now who I think can win a final. An even competition it is. But the Swans, they can beat anyone on their day. The problem with the Swans is out of all these teams, they're the most subject to playing an absolute stinker. So they kind of need 4th spot, I think, and have a bit of a safeguard is probably the best for them. Out of, if Geelong, Melbourne, Brisbane, if they're your top 3, out of these 4 teams, I don't think Sydney can make a prelim finishing 5th. I could see Carlton doing it. Collingwood maybe more unlikely. Freo, if they got on a roll and figured it out like they did earlier in the season, I could see it happening. But the Swans could genuinely go 5th v 8th, Sydney v Bulldogs, for example, and lose by 4 goals. I know they smacked the Dogs earlier in the year, that's just an example, but I could very easily see them get smacked in a final. The Eagles, they're dog shit at the moment. Jai Culley looks a talent. Campbell Chesser will come in next year. They'll get a top pick. I don't think they should use it on local boy Elijah Hewitt. For a couple of reasons. One, I want him to fall to the Hawks. But number 2, with Oscar Allen coming back, Allen and Kennedy, they're going to be sort of okay. Luke Shuey and Elliot Yeo, they're not at retirement ages. So, do you really go a young midfielder and create a midfielder room of Shuey, Yeo, Kelly, Jai Culley, this number 2 pick? Is that a viable way to go? Hey, if it is, I'll put my hand up. But I'm really interested to see what they do there. And the Bulldogs, I can see the Bulldogs as the best of the pretenders. Like, it's the Dogs. I know they kicked 110 on the Ds with no lever, but their defense is horrid. Brisbane would be able to kick a huge score. Carlton would be able to kick a huge score. Melbourne, Geelong, they'd all be able to kick huge scores on the Doggies. So I find it very unlikely that the Dogs can win an elimination final. Whether they get there or not, who knows. But with 7 teams, I believe, can win a final. I cannot wait for the next month of footy. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. I can't wait to update you on what happens next. Enjoy the rest of your week. If you're out there and you've got COVID, as does the great man Smithy, I hope you feel better soon. Go the Hawks. Hope you're well. Goodbye.